Hello everyone, today we're here looking at a case of surprisingly a Canadian sexual deviant, Colonel Russel Williams. The Colonel lived on Wilkie Drive in the Ottawa suburbs of Orleans and was the commander of one of Canada's biggest military bases. So surprisingly, I must say, the first thing that popped into my head was Canada? Sexual predator? Whoa. Not the usual perception that I would associate with the Canadian people. The expectation or the image I have in mind is a well-mannered, polite set of people. Or is that just my perception? In October 2009, Colonel Russel Williams was a 46-year-old decorated colonel and commander of Canadian Force bases in Trenton, Ontario, which is one of the largest Air Force bases in Canada. He was looked at as the ideal military man, and if I dare say, a shooting star. As a pilot, it opened him up to opportunities which involved the transportation of high-ranking officials and foreign dignitaries, to include the Queen. This type of exposure to people in prominence was the type of exposure that would make your career and propel you up the proverbial ladder. But he chose the exposure that would make you have to register on a sex offenders list. He soon went from a shooting star to one of making a quick descent that burns up in the atmosphere and becomes a smoldering pebble as it falls to earth. October 2010, a year later, his shining star fizzled out. He was now convicted as a serial killer and a sexual predator. He was sentenced to serve 2 concurrent life sentences without eligibility for parole in 25 years. This was for the murder of 37-year-old Corporal Marne France Comeau and 27-year-old Jessica Lloyd. In addition to this, he received 2 10-year terms for 2 sexual assaults and 1 year each for 82 fetish burglaries, in which women undergarments was stolen. This was definitely a far cry from the elite model soldier that commanded one of the country's busiest bases. This was definitely a shocker to the military that exposed the underside that is not spoken about or exposed to the general public. And the thing that was a definite surprise to me, married. For about 18 years, he just flipped and became a murderer, a sexual deviant that loved himself some women undergarments, not only to collect, but wear. So I know the question in all of our minds is, what caused Colonel Williams to just flip from a respectable person to a tactical pervert and murderer? Maybe he was this way the whole time, and it finally caught up with him? Or could it be that power got to his head, just like most powerful men? Digging further into his state of mind, we follow some excerpts from a book, A New Kind of Monster. For the murders, Williams was immediately labeled as a psychopath. And yeah, in all right, any person would assume this. The thing we understand about psychopaths is they have little or no conscience. To add to this, the excerpts from the book A New Kind of Monster states that virtually all predatory serial killers are psychopaths. For example, Paul Bernardo, Clifford Olson, and Ted Bundy are just 3 of many examples, and are also some of the people we'll touch on in later videos. But here we have Colonel Russel Williams, who checked the boxes, all the boxes, for psychopath, but was not. According to a new book by Globe and Mail crime reporter Timothy Appleby, Williams is not a psychopath, despite pleading guilty to 82 offenses. This was due to him being able to demonstrate genuine consideration to his friends and colleagues. He was also capable of feeling shame for actions he had committed, according to the book. As we know, in his 40s, a switch flipped, and a mild-mannered Williams was no more. His crime began with the break-ins where he would enter women's room and photograph himself wearing their lingerie, also pleasuring himself. Now, this made me think, is there not some type of kink club where he can get dressed up in whatever he wants, or lubed up and stuffed in a leather suit to satisfy his urges? Just saying now. The break-ins happened on the weekends when he was far away from the base. His crimes escalated and he was now seeking more thrills, which culminated in grisly rapes and ultimately 2 disgusting sex murders, in which he videotaped himself taking photos of the victims. He was diagnosed with paraphilia, or sexual deviant, with sexual obsessions rooted so deeply that once he gave them reign, they took over his life. Let's take a look at the interrogation, where he finally just broke and admitted that he had done it.
Why don't we start with Jessica? How does that start for you?
I saw her in her house on her treadmill. Wednesday night, I guess. Then I noticed she wasn't there Thursday. So I got into the house to look around. Then and then left. Noticed she'd come home. So I went back in. Through the back patio door while she was sleeping. So I woke her up. Didn't hit her. She only hit her once. Friday night.
Okay.
Well, so I raped her in her house, and then I took her to the car and took her to Tweed. Spent the day in Tweed. And then I hit her as we were walking. She thought we were leaving. Hit her on the back of the head.
Okay.
As we can see, he was intelligent enough to understand that he was caught, and it really made no sense to put up a defense or try to push his lies any further. So we made some jokes and took this horrendous matter to a bit of a dark, humorous place, or so I'd like to think. But getting a bit more serious, let's look at the murderers that got this infamous colonel caught on the night of the 23rd November 2009 in Brighton, a town just west of Trenton. Williams broke into the home of Corporal Marie Como, who was under his command at the Trenton base. Como put up a fight and was struck on the head several times with a flashlight. Over the next 2 hours, Williams reportedly and repeatedly raped Como, beating her viciously if she resisted. He recorded it all on video and with photographs. Williams asphyxiated Como by wrapping her face with duct tape. He wrapped her body in a duvet and left it in her bedroom, where it laid undiscovered for more than 30 hours. While police searched Como's house for clues, following the discovery, Williams sent a personal condolence to her father. Williams' next victim was Jessica Lloyd. He broke into her house on Highway 37 near Belleville, Ontario, at about 1 a.m. on the 29th of January and found Lloyd asleep. Williams raped her and made her pose for photographs. Then Williams took Lloyd to a silver-colored 2001 Nissan Pathfinder parked in a nearby field and drove her to his cottage. Lloyd's ordeal continued until about 8:15 p.m. when Williams cracked her skull with a flashlight and then strangled her with a piece of rope. He captured it all on video. Williams hid the body in his garage. On the night of either the 2nd or 3rd of February, he dumped Lloyd's body in the woods near Tweed. As we know, he was caught due to the fake story he gave to the police during his stop, stating that he had a sick kid. At the interrogation, in which he voluntarily agreed to, he saw the evidence mounted and admitted to both murders, and then a litany of charges were brought against him concerning his guilty pleasures. So tell me what you think of this. How could a person who seems to be at the top and had potential to rise even higher just snap and become this evil person? Was it something at home? Possibly a lack of power? Or too much power from his job? Or something that just scarred him in his childhood? So let's play this little game. The what if game. Just imagine after a long day at work, you walk into your house and see a grown man in your underwear pleasuring himself. What would you do? Thank you for your time and tell us what you think of the video. What would you like to see or not see? That way we may better serve you and your time.